This is not a highlight video. What's going on, everyone? Good to be back giving you some midweek content because it's been a little bit too long. I think that you would agree with that. But Federer and Wawrinka, Cincinnati quarterfinals. It was a three-setter, Federer prevailing 6-7, 7-6, 6-1. And there were points in this match that were so high quality. I believe that towards the end of the second set, and especially in that tiebreaker, some of the tennis that we saw was the best tennis that I've watched since Djokovic and Nadal in the Wimbledon semifinal. So this match bodes really well for both of these players, which is what I want to get into. And then at the end, after I'm done talking a bit about Fed, a bit about Stan, I do want to talk about why Federer seems to do way better against Stan than the other three members of the Big Four. Federer seems to really have his number. He's never lost to Stan on a non-clay court. So I want to talk tactically about some of the reasons why that might be. For Federer, it almost felt like he was going to lose this match. I don't know how confident you guys were in the middle of the second set, and then even at the end of the second set when Roger Federer missed on set point a short forehand where he really should have finished the deal. It wound up being 6-all on Stan's serve, and just for the sake of showing you exactly what happened here, the two biggest points in the match. Federer, what I believe one of the things he did really well was he started finding much sharper angles, which I think is really important against Stan, because for Stan, movement is not his strong suit. And yes, he's probably moving a little bit worse now after his knee surgeries, but in reality, the lateral movement was never Stan's strong suit. So one of the ways to take advantage of that is you put a lot of pressure on a player who doesn't move as well by pulling them off the court, which is exactly what Federer did on both of these massive points. This is 6-all, and Stan hits a running forehand. He tries to pull this down the line, and he misses it. He really shouldn't have pulled this down the line, and he got very upset with himself for it. But then on the next point, he actually did the same thing. Look where he's hitting this from, outside of the singles line, and Stan misses this one wide. If he did make the shot, if you see where Federer's court position is, Stan probably would have had a winner there. But on both of those points, the two biggest points in the match, the same thing happened where Federer found a nice and sharp angle. One, forehand cross court, the second one, backhand cross court, and you put a lot of pressure on Stan when you pull him out wide because he doesn't move that well. More on that later. So for Federer, it kind of felt like he was going to lose this match, and it kind of felt like the other losses that he's already had this season. And that's why I think that this was really significant for him, because in all four of Federer's losses this season, they've come in deciding sets. Del Potro at Indian Wells, Kokkinakis at Miami, Coric and Halle, Kevin Anderson at Wimbledon. And in 3 of those 4 matches, it was very surprising. You felt like Federer was going to dig in, problem solve, raise his level, and win the match. That's what I felt like against Kokkinakis, against Coric, and against Kevin Anderson. Against Del Potro, maybe not, the way Del Potro was playing so well. But against those 3, it was like you weren't really surprised that they went to deciding sets. The surprising part is that Federer wasn't able to find the next gear. And in this match, Federer found the next gear. I would not have liked it at all for Roger Federer's chances if he lost this match. I feel like you need something to draw back on. At Wimbledon, he didn't look very good in either of the warm-ups. And ultimately, basically what I'm saying is he didn't look good in Stuttgart or Halle. But then once the tournament started, once Wimbledon started, he was really dominating all of the weaker competition in the first week. But as soon as he needed to find an extra gear, as soon as he got in a bit of trouble, he couldn't find it against Kevin Anderson. you get certain feelings in tennis, and one of those feelings is, okay, I need to get to the next level right here. You know, there's your average level of intensity, and then there's your elevated level of intensity, where you know that you need an elevated level. And if you don't feel yourself, if you don't play matches where you feel yourself losing the match, raising your level, and then winning the match, that's not good for your confidence. When you can draw back on matches where you went to a deciding set, you reached your maximum 10 out of 10 intensity, and with your 10 out of 10 intensity, followed your 10 out of 10 level, that's a great feeling. And I believe Federer got that feeling out of that match. He got better and better as the match went on. Like I said, finding sharper angles, and then the other thing is finding his return, especially his backhand return, which he began to hit with more confidence. And by the third set, Federer was dominating. So really big for Federer, really big. For Stan, he's beginning to play really, really well, and people are going to throw around the word back. And I would pump the brakes, because until Stan is contending for majors, he's not back, but he's very, 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 very good. And you will see his level in play, his newfound level in play. You will see the results of that in Monday's installment of the U.S. Open Power Rankings. We'll just put it that way. Stan's moving as this is the best I've seen him move in this match. I think everyone agreed in that, on that at least. And when Stan is moving well, he's able to play with so much more patience, dig his teeth into points. When Stan was struggling, there were a lot of errors basically coming in, and I think that the reason for that is he was pressing because he didn't trust his movement. He didn't trust his ability to stay in points, and he especially didn't trust his ability to hit shots on the run where you need to plant really hard on your knee and kind of change direction when you hit balls on the run, which I know from experience, when your knee hurts, everything's fine unless you're on the run. That's when things get dicey. So I think that Stan really found another level here, a level that he hasn't found since his knee surgeries, and he almost accomplished something that he had never accomplished, even when 100% healthy, even when he was under 30 years old, which is beat Roger Federer on a non-clay court. Which brings me to my next point. The stats are there, the results are there. It is very obvious that Stan has found way more success against the other three members of the Big Four than he has against Roger Federer. Against Novak, overall he's 5-20. But you got to keep in mind, with all of these career head-to-heads, Stan was a very late bloomer. Stan didn't start playing his best tennis until 2014. So if you look at the last 7 matches between Stan and Novak, Stan has won 3 of them, and a lot of the matches that Novak has won, Novak has needed 5 sets. Against Rafa, he's 3-17 career, but from 2014 to 2015, Stan had won 3 of 4. So Stan went on a nice stretch there against Rafa Nadal, and then against Andy Murray, Stan is 8-11, a pretty good record considering Andy Murray is normally a better player than Stan if you look at his body of work. But against Roger, Stan is 3-20, but 0-13 against Federer on non-clay courts. I think the most important thing that Federer does against Stan is he mixes up depth, height, and width. I shouldn't really say he mixes up with, but he uses sharp angles. So take a guy like Novak Djokovic. His angles are not as sharp as Roger Federer's angles. And what you eliminate there is you eliminate Stan's movement. It becomes more of a contest of ball striking. When you don't force Stan off the court, you really allow him to settle in. Stan is so good. better than I've ever seen. He is the best I've ever seen at sustaining offensive pressure from the baseline, especially from the middle of the court. So you need to take him out of his comfort zone. You cannot give him rhythm. That's one thing that Djokovic also provides, rhythm. Another thing that Djokovic does is he plays stellar defense. I don't think it bothers Stan, because you can play stellar defense against Stan and you're not going to extract an error. Stan, like I said, he is Mr. Consistent offense. When he is dictating from the middle of the court, he can hit 2, 3, 5, 8, 10 shots. It doesn't matter. You can play all the defense you want. Great defense, I don't think bothers Stan. Then you look at a guy like Rafa Nadal. He hits very sharp angles. He should be great against Stan. Well, he doesn't really mix up his heights like Roger Federer can. Stan can stand, that's kind of weird to say, Stan can stand very far behind the baseline against Rafa, where Stan likes to be. It gives him more time to set up for his shots, take big cuts at the ball, and use his immense power. Whereas Federer uses the wonderful chip backhand that he has short in the court to draw Stan in. He also uses it on his, he can also keep his forehand pretty low as well. So that's something that Federer can use against Stan. And even angle forces Stan to move into the court. I did see on some occasions, I saw Federer off of his serve hit an angle inside out forehand, and Stan would end up having to scrape it off the ground very low. That's a shot that can stay very low by Federer. When Nadal hits, let's say, even if he hits a sharp angle, when Rafa hits his sharp angle, it bounces up really high. So Stan, what that enables Stan to do is play a little bit further back in the court. He doesn't need to take the ball so low. Against Andy, I guess I would point to once again, stellar defense doesn't really bother Stan that much. So that's why I think Federer is sort of the best guy to beat Stan. Another thing, Stan's weakness, his chip return. And who can take advantage of a block return better than Federer, who hits his first forehand so well? Probably him and Nadal hit it best between in the Big Four, and then also has the serve and volley, which he does better than anyone else in the Big Four. But at the end of the day, to put this in simpler terms, you can't let Stan get comfortable, and Federer has way more ways to make Stan uncomfortable than the rest of these guys who are rhythm baseline players. Federer is not a rhythm baseline player. You need to take Stan out of the middle of the court and make him uncomfortable. You need to make him move not laterally, the opposite. You need to make him move vertically, up and down the court. He doesn't like that as much. He'd rather stay behind the baseline and move laterally. He'd rather hit from the middle of the court. Depth isn't going to bother him. Novak Djokovic has a lot of depth. It's not going to bother him. So it's not like Stan has Novak's number or Rafa's number or Andy's number, because, like I said, they're a little bit above Stan's level. But nobody plays Stan as well as Roger Federer. And I think that the reasons I just laid out are why. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.